Hello, good evening everybody. My name is Girish Wankhede and this is a process or the initiative which we have been doing for almost 4 weeks now. Every week we get an expert who talks about films, who talks about social issues, who talk about anything pertaining to OTT, entertainment, radio, everything. Today we have a wonderful guest among us who is a pioneer in various reviews, who has been instrumental in giving a new color to reviews. Also, he is a critic, he is a journalist, and most importantly, he has been a wonderful knowledge bank for various genres of Hollywood. So, today we are talking about the genres of Hollywood, genres of horror in Hollywood, and for that, in fact, before me starting, I would like to invite him and welcome him on behalf of Wankhede Brothers. Thank you very much. Sir, please sit here. Thank you. So, without much ado, Russel, thank you very much for coming here. The whole formality here was to make it sure that this flower gives you something to talk about, especially when we are talking about the horror films. Anyway, so
राजेश खन्ना का रेड रोज
हाँ राजेश खन्ना का एक रेड रोज था और वो that was the only film I think that time which didn't work more. But yeah, but to start with, when we are talking about horror genre in Hollywood, we have been the consumers of films, and not only Hindi, Tamil or Telugu, but of course English. Because of OTT now, we have got a great exposure of international films. Because of OTT, we understood about Russian films and Korean films, and of course Hollywood is very much prevalent in almost every OTT. Now to start with, when we are talking about horror, how fascinating horror genre is, and why personally you are so much inclined to the horror space?
See, personally, first of all, Girish bhai, thank you for that lovely welcome and lovely introduction. I must say that you are no less of a knowledge bank, and it's always a pleasure interacting with you. Always thank you for making me feel so special. Horror is so special to me. I can state it without any doubt that horror is my favorite genre. You know, there is a saying. I'm part of this group in America called the Horror of It All. It's supposed to be the biggest horror community in the entire world.
So you guys have community as well.
Yes, there are different horror communities. I'm part of two horror communities, the Horror of It All and We Love Horror Movies. The Horror of It All, yes, I'm a group expert on that.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a US based community, and there is a saying over there that people who love horror movies are naturally much calmer, much nicer people. You know, to relax. Many people say, come on, let's watch a comedy, let's watch Andaza.
There must be an exception because my wife also loves horror films.
Yeah, okay. But whenever I'm stressed, whenever I'm wanting to just unwind, whenever I had a hectic day, the first thing that comes to my mind, chalo horror movie. Sara ka Sara, you know, when I'm in tension, when I come into the edge of my seat, when I get a jump scare, I feel very relaxed after that.
So wonderful. So amazing. So yeah, now that he loves horror films, and I have come across various colleagues, relatives, including my wife also, who love horrors. And I had been the part of cinema for almost 20 years. I remember, Russell, I was promoting a film called A Woman in Dark. It was a Hollywood film, and we had only 6 or 7 days to promote, and I didn't know what to do to promote that horror film. So what we did, we got 2 girls in white sari. Typical. When we say horror, it has to be white sari.
Yeah, for us it is.
For us, for Indian horror, we need white sari. So we got 2 girls in white sari and they had a torch. So this torch was like this. Okay, if you keep this like this, and if you on it, it gives you a very scary picture. So what we used to do, when a film is starting, then we have trailers coming up, then we have commercials, and after commercials, we have a censor certificate of a film. So before the censor certificate of the film, when there is complete darkness in the cinema hall, that time we always have two exits in cinema hall. So from both the exits, these two girls in white sari used to come with this torch, and they come and used to stand in the middle, and when they stand in the middle with nothing across, then there was only one promo light on the screen, and it was Woman in Black.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe, right?
Yes.
The Harry Potter actor. You know that was a remake.
Yeah.
The original movie came in 1970s or early 1980s.
Right.
Yes, this was a remake. One of the few remakes that is better than the original.
Exactly.
That's great.
So if we talk about films, even we promote horror films, but let's start with something where we will talk about how it all originated. So whatever I know, I think the first horror which came internationally when we talk about Hollywood, it started in 1931, and it was, of course, Dracula, and then Bram Stoker's Dracula, when we say. So I think that 30s was when in India we started making talkies.
Yeah.
Talkie films.
Yeah.
Our first talkie in India was made in 1931, and by the time we were making talkies, Hollywood was already making horror films. So their first horror film was Dracula.
Actually, the first horror film, the first talkie horror film was Dracula.
Okay, okay.
The first
Before that, there was a lot of silent horror films.
1927, the first vampire movie came,
Yeah.
which was called Nosferatu.
Yes.
Till date, it is regarded as the pinnacle of vampire movies.
Right.
And before that, 14 years before that, in 1913.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by the way, I am telling you, 1913 was the year in which India made the first film called Raja Harishchandra. That was our first film. So that time Hollywood was already making
Yes.
horror films, and that was silent horror films.
So the first horror film was actually in 1913 called The Wolfman.
Oh.
जो उसके बाद इतने सारे werewolf movies बने हैं. But the first one was The Wolfman that came in 1913.
Oh, okay, okay. So now, it's so wonderful. So in 30s, what I see was a film called these all. We have Dracula and then even Frankenstein, and these were all the films in 30s. Then in 40s, if we see, then we have a film called as Cat People, which was important film. And for the first time in 40s, Hollywood made zombie film. So now when we see Zombieland and all the films which we see now, the origin is already 1940. So 1940s is known for some of the people. Anything you remember in 40s?
The first zombie movie came. It was called White Zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, very unique that zombies, what we know as zombies, that they are undead people, they bite other people, and those people also become zombies, they become infected. So White Zombie was not like that way. White Zombie was reincarnation.
Oh.
So it was based on this guy who lost his wife, and in Jamaica, the Caribbean islands were known a lot for black magic. So actually the term zombie, before, it was popularized by one of the masters of horror, George Romero.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So he completely turned the zombie genre on its head. But white zombie came from the term zombie. Then we say this person is acting like a zombie.
Zombie.
He's just going about following instructions without using their own brains. So white zombie was a reincarnated that his wife comes back, but she doesn't know how to be a person.
Okay.
So she's going around following his instructions, and she's no more the wife he used to know.
Okay.
It was a dramatic, and you see, those days horror was not like how we know it.
Yeah.
From 60s, the horror game changed, blood, gore. But in those days, horror was just an eerie feeling, a chilling feeling. So that's how
The shock and suspense.
yeah. So that's how white.
Zombie.
In fact, another picture in the 40s. by this actor called Ray Milland.
Okay.
He was as popular in those days. In India, he's not known much, but in India, people who know Hollywood, they know actors like Clark Gable, Spencer
Yeah.
Tracy. So he was as popular as them back then.
So
Yeah.
very
So
interesting.
He did a movie called Haunted House.
Yeah.
Okay. Which उसके बाद वो पिक्चर वो थोड़ा सा हमारी जो पहली हॉरर फिल्म थी कहने के लिए महल
Yeah.
अशोक कुमार
Yeah.
मधुबाला की
Yes.
वो थोड़ा वहाँ से इंस्पायर्ड है
Right.
थी तो पिक्चर ओरिजिनल कमल अमरोही सर की
Yes, yes, come on.
हाँ तो उसके वही हॉन्टेड हाउस को करके कितनी सारी रिमेक्स पे अभी जो नेटफ्लिक्स पे आई है हाउस ऑफ हॉन्टेड है
So House of Haunted Hill was in 60s also.
हाँ उसके ऊपर किताब लिखी गई
Yes, yes.
इंस्पिरेशन थी ये रे मिलान की फिल्म
Yeah, yeah. So wonderful. So now see, this was in 40s and then in 50s, we have the first introduction of supernatural films. Supernatural and even House of
हॉन्टेड
Haunted
हाउस वो 40s में आई
40s में आया, 50s में आया. Then when we were talking about 60s I think was the major breakthrough for the horror films because in 1960, one of the finest horror film was made, that was Psycho. So Alfred
That was
Hitchcock,
Psycho,
yeah,
really.
that was Psycho because I have never seen any film which is more frightening than it. And secondly, the best part is that Psycho was based on a novel. Psycho was Alfred Hitchcock's film. Psycho has been remade in several languages, several countries, and I have seen the recent Psycho re-release also some 4 or 5 years back.
Vince Vaughn
Yeah,
Yeah.
Miss Vaughn. And the best part about Psycho is even after so many years, when you see there was Psycho 1, Psycho 2, Psycho 3, but the original Psycho, which was made in 1960, it has got so much of impact. And that particular scene where the girl is killed in the bathroom, shower scene, that shower scene has become a legendary in almost every third film. When we started making our horror films, I guess we started making in 60s and 70s.
I think Bhoot Bangla could be
Bhoot Bangla had Mahmood and Tanuja, Mahmood, and even there was a small role of R.D. Burman in that film. So we made a lot of horror films. We made Bisalbad, we made Kora, we made Chere Pechera, we made. Then there was Ravi. There was Darwaza and
Jani Dushman.
Jani Dushman was also Rajkumar Kohli's film. So coming to context of Psycho, Psycho was already made in a web series which is on Netflix called Bates Motel. Because
origin of Norman Bates.
Norman Bates. The main character of Psycho is Norman Bates, who loves his mother. And then that they have a hotel called as Bates Motel. So Bates is their surname, and he doesn't have a father. So that is the story. And that story after Psycho, the main character of Psycho was done by Christopher Reeve.
Anthony Perkins.
Anthony
Christopher Reeves
was a Superman.
Yeah.
Sorry. So that actor, then I saw the same actor in even Psycho 2 also.
Yeah, honestly, Psycho is a pretty underrated sequel.
Yeah.
It's honestly a very good film actually. The movies after that went down the rabbit hole. But Psycho, in fact, I'll tell you one trivia. Psycho came in 1960.
Yeah.
In 1960, there was a British film that came that called Peeping Tom.
Yeah.
It released a few months before Psycho. I think 2 or 2.5 months. It was actually, many people say Psycho is the first slasher. For the same reason that, many people would probably say Sholay is the first curry western. Because it's the pop culture impact.
Yeah.
But before Sholay, there was Mera Gaon Mera Desh. Before Mera Gaon Mera Desh, there was Ganga Jamna.
Even Kote
Even Kote Sikhe. But same reason. So Peeping Tom, it was a slasher about this guy, it's literally the title says, he used to peep at girls and he used to stalk.
Yeah, I've seen that film.
So it was heavily censored all over the world. Now if you watch the movie, you'll be like, isme kya hai, isko kyun censored?
But that time it was...
It was heavily censored. Also, the reason it was, because if you see Peeping Tom and if you see Psycho, the scenes are really not, in fact Psycho has more violence.
Yeah.
But he did not have the Alfred Hitchcock clout. Alfred Hitchcock was already a very big name.
Yes.
He had done Vertigo before that, he had done Rear Window, North by Northwest.
Yeah, North by Northwest Well, Northwest was one of the biggest hit.
Yeah, so he was a very, plus he had a big studio package. Peeping
Yes.
Tom was an independent film.
Yeah.
Though Peeping Tom was actually the first slasher, but for all intent and purpose, Psycho is regarded as the first slasher. अब जो आपने shower scene बोला ना,
Wow.
the culmination of camera movements. She's washing her hair.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Janet Jason Leigh.
Yeah.
Who is incidentally this Halloween actress, Halloween, who became a big scream queen.
Jennifer Jason.
Jennifer.
Yeah.
Yes, her mother.
Yeah.
So she was starting the scene, and how the BGM comes,
That BGM is amazing.
That mixture, masterpiece.
Exactly. So when we are talking about 60s, it was about Psycho, and then there is another very important film which I want to tell you, and that is the Rosemary's Baby. So Rosemary's Baby was directed by Roman Polanski.
Yes.
So that film has a certain thing. There is a pregnant woman. She is expecting a child, and she has shifted to a new home. And there was nothing horror about the film, but she feels something uneasy. And the strength of that film was such that you go with the character, and after 15-20 minutes, you also feel suffocated with that character. And there is nothing which is scary. But the entire atmosphere building of Rosemary Baby is such that you get drawn with that character. And then there were a lot of remakes also of that film.
Actually, if you go to see Exorcist, it's slightly inspired because there also the devil comes. The devil's meaning, and he completely possesses that girl, Linda Blair, the actress. She completely, and the end is many Omen.
Yeah, so that is 70s.
Yes.
From 60s, now what he's saying, Exorcist and The Omen are the representative films of 70s.
Yeah, I'm taking that into
Yes.
the devil angle.
Yes,
Here
yes.
she is giving birth to
To a
the
devil.
child of the devil.
Yeah.
Lucifer's child.
Yes, Lucifer's
child.
Yes.
Actually, if you could say also, Rosemary's Baby is the first cult horror. When I say cult horror, it's not about a movie that become a cult. It's based on cults.
Yeah.
A movie that is based on a cult. So there is a cult also in Rosemary's Baby who wants to get impregnated by the devil.
And there is a pure genre on cult.
Yeah.
So even when you talk about Zodiac, it has got that sense of
Yeah,
cult.
it does.
So we are talking about, we will just finish about the
60s.
journey for 60s and then 70s. 70s and of course Exorcist, Omen. While they were doing Exorcist and Omen, we were doing Janjeer and we were doing Trishul and Diva. Wonderful. We had some Red Rose also. We had.
Girish, but before that I must, because if we skip this, we would be, I would not forgive myself. 1968 a movie came that, according to me, it redefined how horror movies are made all around the world. See, horror now, we have made some good movies. The thing we do not get right, horror is still a niche genre. You won't find people going in theaters in groves to watch a horror movie. They would rather sit at home, watch a little bit, watch a little bit, because many people are still scared of horror movies. That's the entire reason horror movies are made. There is a director who came out in 1968 with a movie that redefined the horror genre and how it's made, Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. Night of the Living Dead.
George Romero.
Yes.
He broke cultural barriers. The first time a black actor, an African American, played the lead actor in a horror film. In fact, before that, the only African American who ever played a lead actor was Sidney Poitier.
Sidney Poitier, yeah.
Yes, before that, otherwise there was no African American who played lead actors.
Exactly.
And why I say redefined, it was made on what you call a shoestring budget. I think the entire budget of that movie was $25,000 or $30,000. That's it. And it ended up making around $4 to $5 million at the box office. And that is how, till date, horror is a small budget genre where you don't have the big stars. In fact, many big stars started in horror and then they went off to many bigger
Yeah, I
films.
know that. Yes.
So that is how.
Even the Omen has huge stars.
That is actually an exception to the
It
law.
was Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck.
He was supposed, Gregory Peck, when you say, people used to say that Devanand imitates Gregory
Peck. Devanand did not like that.
Which Devanand
He
did not
never
like.
liked that.
And when you see Gregory Peck acting, you actually resemble to Devanand. So he was the main hero in the film called The Omen. And then Omen is certain.
Three horror movies that had big stars. Omen, The Shining.
The Shining, I'll come.
Okay,
I'm coming to it.
Industry.
So this was all 70s.
Yeah.
Now we are coming about 80s. So in 80s, the biggest film was Shining.
The biggest, any day.
In 80s, when we are talking about Shining, Shining was a complete trademark film of a genius filmmaker called Stanley Kubrick. Because Shining is Jack Nicholson, and the script was so amazing that there is a guy who wants to work in a hotel, and he goes to a faraway hotel with his family, and there is off season, and he goes there with his family, with his wife and a young son. And in the off season, the entire hotel becomes vacant. So in that huge hotel, there are only three creatures: he, his wife, and his son. And that loneliness is scary.
Agoraphobia.
That agoraphobia. And that is what that film is. And that film becomes so much on you. It comes so much on you that you get frightened because of that loneliness. And that was the strength of that film. And that film was actually talked about, and it is Stanley Kubrick's film. So any time when you see the poster of Shining, you will see Jack Nicholson coming out of
Many posters.
many
One
posters.
poster there where he is hacking the door.
Hacking the door. So you can see that film, and then another film which was very important in 80s was the Poltergeist.
Yeah, but that came much later in the 80s.
Yeah.
Before that, there were many other 80s landmarks.
Yes,
In
yes.
fact, 70s were missed one movie.
Okay, which film?
Halloween.
Yeah, 70s was also known for Halloween. It was the
1978.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you why. See, Psycho is the first slasher.
yeah.
But from 70s till late 80s, early 90s, they were only slashers being made in Hollywood. They were very cheap to make. A
Yeah.
bunch of teenagers or young adults, they go in a remote place, they start doing stuff, they start drinking, they start taking drugs, to probably have sex, and there is a slasher there. But Halloween is the quality slasher that started it all.
Exactly.
And another one with great BGM.
Yeah.
And a great horror author, John Carpenter.
Yes, yes. John Carpenter is amazing. So this, when we talk about 80s, and now after 80s and when we come to 90s, we have seen the 90s was dominated by the Blair Witch Project.
Actually,
Sort of. And then there was
two other films.
two other films was Scream,
Scream.
and the third was I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Scream was, I know what you did last summer, and I wouldn't regard it because today it doesn't get much love in the horror community.
Yeah, I know,
It
because
was a
they made
rip-off.
the sixth.
It was a rip-off of
Rip-off,
Scream.
yeah.
And the writer of the Scream, Ken Williamson,
Yeah.
is the same writer I know what you did last summer.
Yeah.
The studio came to him and said, we want another Scream, quickly make it, here's your money.
And the same year, I think Francis Ford Coppola also made Dracula.
Bram Stoker,
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Scream, you know what Scream did? We need a Scream in Bollywood. I tell you, I'm not telling a Scream, the kind of film, the kind of impact. Horror was dying a quick death in the 90s because people were fed up of slashers. Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Yeah.
not a great film in 70s.
But still,
1970.
it's a landmark film.
Yes. So what happened was that the sequels were not loved. Then Halloween 2 came in 1981.
Yeah.
The sequel was loved. Then after that, Halloween 3, Halloween 4, John Carpenter left the project as a
Yeah.
producer. So he was not making great sequels. So the war was made. Halloween 3, in fact, did not feature Michael Myers. And then you have all slashers like Madman. You have a slash. Some good ones came. Like
Man.
there were many. There were so many. It was just the same template.
Yeah.
Hacking up
Very
images.
routine. Yeah.
And there was one in the end, it became a formula. The final girl.
Yeah.
Yes. So the final girl used to survive. And there were some rules in slashers.
Yes, yes.
The rule was whoever has sex in a movie, they were going to die. They will die. It's a
Always,
fix.
always.
It's not we are going to
Yeah, so
survive.
even that template or the routine, even we in Hindi films, we talk about it, but we will first go with the series.
So
where-
Scream, I tell you what
Yeah,
happened. So
Scream.
Scream took this entire thing. It was the first meta horror movie.
Yeah.
They were talking about these things, and they are saying कि जो भी ये करेगा पिक्चर में, वो लोग survive नहीं करेंगे ghost face killer से. And in the end, Wes Craven
Yeah.
completely turned it, and
Yes.
he was another YouTuber. He made Nightmare on Elm Street.
I know.
Yeah.
So there can't be a bigger director than Stanley Kubrick or Wes Craven, who I recently saw a film of Wes Craven called it was on. I don't remember, but it was such a great film. Last year, water. There was crocodiles. Wes Craven's film. Last year I saw it.
Crocodiles.
Yeah.
Crocodile with Toby Hooper making a text.
No, it was a father and a daughter's struggle against the crocodile. It was last year's release, and it was directed by Wes Craven. That's why I watched it. Amazing. It was box office super hit.
Must have come out later because now he is passed away.
It was last year, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so 2000, when we say 2000, we have Cloverfield.
Yeah.
Then we have then there were zombie lands and everything. But 2000 is basically we will remember that that decade only because there were a lot of horror films with the woman protagonists. So before that, it was male protagonists or the ghost or Hollywood or a group. But lot of so the films like Gothica or the Eye. So these were
also the time Hollywood was remaking Japanese
Japanese
films.
yes. So it was
The Ring.
Yeah, The Ring.
The Grudge.
The Grudge. So these was all the Asian dramas which were being made, influence in Hollywood. Then in 2010s, if you are talking about 2010s, there were some of the films which had a sense of horror, but there were the extension of that horror genre into something more substantial, like a film called Get Out. So Get Out is a
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele. So Get Out is a wonderful film where there is a black protagonist who has been suppressed by white people, and it has a scary element, and it has a class struggle and a racism as well. So various points were talked about with the aid of a horror film. Also in the same vein, we can say in 2010 we have films like there was
Conjuring.
Conjuring, yes.
James.
Conjuring. I still remember when Conjuring was released in India by Warner Brothers. There were no takers. Nobody wanted to distribute that. They were the distributors, but they were very skeptical about the film's release.
Hollywood also did not have much takers for
Yes. So what they did then, I was that time representing multiplex industry through Cinemax. So before the release of the film, they did a private screenings for various age groups, and then at that time internet was new. So they told them, so they got a big box. So they said that you watch this film, and on the box go there and write about how you liked about the film. So that is what the reviewers they try to generate from the common people, and suddenly that film grew. And it grew to such an extent that you made Conjuring, you made Conjuring 2, you made Conjuring 3, and then there are spin-offs. You have the Nun, you have Annabelle, you have everything. So that complete Conjuring universe you have been able to create because it is such a wonderful universe.
It again showed that if you make a landmark horror film, horror fans are very loyal.
Yeah.
George Romero, John
Yes.
Carpenter, Wes Craven, Toby Hooper,
Yeah.
they all became icons of horror fans as horror-related directors. Now the one who has come out, two people have come out in the modern day and age who have managed to take the place. One is James Wan, who made Conjuring, who made Insidious,
Yes.
and another person is called Ty West,
Yeah.
who has recently made two movies, X and Pearl.
Yes. So now coming to this current age now, so we have almost covered everything. In this coming age, coming to this present state, we can say that in all this context, we have seen various directors like Stanley Kubrick also and Wes Craven also and Carpenter also. So he has given you numerous names who has an amazing job. But there is one Indian name which this discussion can't be complete without him. That is M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
So he is the one who made his first film called The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis, and that was a category breaker film.
Biggest twist ending ever.
Biggest independent film that time by M. Night Shyamalan, a man who was born in India, but brought up in US only, and it was his first film with an actor of the caliber of Bruce Willis, and that film just shook the entire globe. Everybody was talking about that film, and the same man, M. Night Shyamalan, after that, he is called as the king of psychological horrors. So that was a psychological horror, and after that, he has made so many films.
All
His
big stars.
all big stars. Last film I saw was Old. Before that, the others. Others had no others.
There
no
was
others.
does that
The
movie-
Village.
No, before after Village, there was a movie where this
Split.
Split made. No, two young kids go to their grandparents' house.
Yeah.
And then they find out that those two people,
Yeah.
they are not
The
their
Murder in the
grandparents.
Cabin or something.
No, that came out this year.
Yeah.
That came out this year. Knock at the Cabin.
Knock at the Cabin.
Yes.
That was again M. Night Shyamalan's
Yes.
film.
But there was the rental or it was a very small but usually made big budget. One of the few
Yeah.
horror filmmakers who make big budget movies because he gets big stars. But I think he had a little bit of a box office slump, so he decided to go back to his roots and make a small movie, and that again made a huge hit.
So yes, M. Night
He
Shyamalan.
has a series also called Servant.
Yeah, I have seen that. That Servant you can see in Apple Plus, Apple TV Plus. So it's a series which is made, and it is so scary. That series also, if you see, it is on Apple Plus, Apple TV Plus. It is already with 2 seasons now. I have seen both the seasons. So now coming to the main point and the main discussion here, as we've seen that there is a amazing growth, and there are so many intelligent, genius directors who have contributed to the genre of Hollywood. But the most interesting part is Russel is known for differentiating all the 10 genres of Hollywood. So we should go one by one. Please.
I had a discussion before coming here last night with my horror community. They informed me it is 12 genres. Second genre I would say is vampires because that's in the 30s that entire wave was there of vampires.
Yeah, so vampires, we can see so many films on vampires. Third,
Third I would say is werewolves.
werewolves. So there are so many films on werewolves also, and they are our takers. The people love it.
Yes, we managed to make 2 actually. People say Bedia.
Bedia we tried, and
Bedia was good.
Bedia was good, and before that also you have
We are tiger.
Junoon.
We are tiger, not werewolf.
Yeah,
We are
we are
tiger.
tiger. That was Junoon with Rahul.
Rahul and Pooja
So
Bhatt.
that was the third. Fourth genre,
Fourth would be zombies.
zombie. So zombies are very
The most overpopulated horror genre.
Yes. Now everybody is talking. We also tried. We did Go Goa Goa.
Not a very good film.
Not okay, but we love that weirdness in Raj and DK. Yeah.
After that, horror comedies.
Horror comedies. So we are reaching
But
somewhere.
the South is very good in it.
South is good.
From the 90s, they started it with Chandramukhi.
Yeah, they did wonderful, and we did only one horror comedy successful, and that is Stree.
Stree.
Before that,
Box office wise, yes, Stree.
box office was a super hit, Stree. But before that, I was dating one film called Nanu Ki Janu. It was a horror comedy, but it flunked. It didn't work. So there are some horror comedies, and when we talk about horror comedies in Hollywood, especially I know what you did last summer.
I wouldn't say that's a horror comedy. The horror comedy, actually horror comedies in Hollywood for some reason, they are mostly associated with zombies. Because the maximum comedies
Okay.
Shaun of the Dead,
Yeah.
Zombie Land. Shaun of the Dead is actually not Hollywood, it's a
Even
British
there was
film.
this film, no, which has a two parts. One was done by Quentin Tarantino, Dawn.
Yes, Grindhouse.
Grindhouse.
Planet Terror.
Yeah.
And Planet Terror was the first part, and second part was Death Proof.
Death Proof.
Yes.
So Death Proof was directed by Quentin
Tarantino. Grindhouse was his long-time associate, Robert Rodriguez.
Roberto Rodriguez.
Yes.
So then Dawn of the Dead.
That was George Romero.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a zombie comedy. It's a proper zombie film.
Okay.
Yes, 1968. It was his. He had a series.
By
1968.
the way, I loved Death Proof more because I'm a Tarantino fan.
Tarantino, honestly, more than Planet Terror, I would say like Death Proof. But because so George Romero is known as the father of zombies. 1968, he came with Night of the Living Dead. 1970s, I think so it was 73 or 74, 75 probably. He came with Dawn of the Dead. Then in 82, 83, he came with Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead was the one where all the people are stuck in a shopping mall.
Oh.
But in 2004, Zack Snyder, who made the superhero movies,
Yeah.
he remade that.
Oh.
That was his first and another one of the few. It is in the horror community is regarded as the best remake ever.
Wow.
Then in '83 came Day of the Dead, when a military bunker, a bunch of soldiers and civilians and scientists are stuck, and the entire world is overtaken by zombies.
Wow.
Then in 2000s, much later came Land of the Dead.
Land of the Dead.
Yes.
That was also popular. So this one your zombie was your fourth genre. What is the fifth?
The fifth was zombie
Fifth
comedy.
was
So
zombie.
we did paranormal, we did vampire, werewolf, zombie, horror comedy.
Sixth.
Then the sixth is the ones in 80s, 70s, 80s, where it started well and then Wes Craven had to rescue it. Slashers.
Slashes. Yes.
Slasher is the one that has all the rules.
Yes.
If you have sex, you die. If you split up, if you're searching in the woods and if you split up,
Then
you're
you die.
dead. There's always going to be a final girl. Slasher is the best part. I tell you why slasher is the best part. हम लोग बोलते रहते हैं ना female oriented. There is no bigger female oriented genre than slasher films because always a woman survives in the end.
So that is slasher. Okay.
They are known as final girl. In fact, it became so popular that the final girls, Jennifer, somebody can Google one. For some reason, I cannot get that woman's name now. Somebody can Google Halloween quickly because she is regarded. Slashers came something known as scream queens.
Okay.
So they became so popular that based on them, studios used to mount their entire next film. In slashers, the hero doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the heroine and the killer that matters.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee
Yeah.
Curtis, one of my favorite. You know, sometimes that happens, you just cannot get a name.
Yeah.
Ha.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis,
She was-
Linda Blair, Neve Campbell, all screen
Jamie Lee
queens.
Curtis was in
Kylie Richard.
True Lies.
Yes, Trail Lies, but before that, she
Yeah.
became Halloween, Terror Train, Prom Night, all her films.
She was also nominated for this film called
She got the-
Everything.
yeah, she got an
Everywhere.
Oscar for that.
She got an Oscar for
Yes.
that also.
And
Last year.
I love the speech.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Slasher genres.
And Jamie Lee Curtis was also in a film called A Fish Called
Fish
Wanda.
Called Wanda.
Yeah.
Brilliant. You know what she did when she accepted the Oscars? She said this Oscar is for all those people who support genre movies. Because the Oscar has got a very big snub nose when it comes to
Yeah,
horror and
I know,
action.
I
The
know.
only horror movie that has
Exorcist.
Oscar, no.
Hmm.
It's The Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs and also Exorcist.
Exorcist was nominated, but
Yeah.
it didn't win. Silence won.
Silence of the Lamb got 5 Oscars.
Yes.
Best
All
director.
made, all made.
Best director, best actor, best actress,
Best
best original screenplay.
Adapted.
Adapted. So it
And-
was adapted
yeah, and
and
best
best
picture.
picture.
Sweet, full
Anthony-
sweet.
Full sweet. Anthony Hopkins, Judy Foster. I think director was
Jonathan Demme.
Jonathan Demme. And then there was adapted screenplay.
Yeah. He wrote it along with the writer.
And best picture, that is producer. So that was one of, and you guys should see, because we did a very bad rehash of that film called Sangharsh. It was based on The Silence of the Lamb. Here in Sangharsh we had Akshay Kumar and Kajol, and originally as Anthony Hopkins, and then
Ashutosh Rana made that
Ashutosh
too.
Rana. Yeah,
You take him out and there's nothing.
yeah, so that was, so anyway, so what about sixth?
Sixth was Slasher.
Seventh?
Okay, seventh was something that is very unfamiliar to most people, even in America, even in Europe. It's called home invasion.
Home invasion. So there is a very typical format to it. It's a template. Home invasion. There will be somebody alone at home, and she or he will be invaded by the intruders. They could be
It
masked.
could be a family also.
It could be family also. Most of the time it will be family. I think these germs I can see in a very interesting film long back. It was based on the Gary Mason episode.
Charles Manson.
Not Charles Manson. Mason show, like there is a small hint of that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
But Tarantino.
Yeah.
So there was but it's a representation, it's a very fictional representation, but the original where there was a director and his wife, they were killed by the cult guys.
You know who was the director?
Yeah. I think the director was Roman Polanski.
Yes.
Roman Polanski's wife was pregnant.
Yes, Sharon Tate.
Sharon Tate.
Yes.
She was pregnant and she was with her friend,
Yeah.
a family party. 3 people were there in a room, in a house. And it's a director's house. So there is a cult. So that cult decided that that director should be killed. So all three or four people, two girls, one boy, or two girls, two boys,
Yeah.
they came and it was they invaded the home and they killed everybody in the home brutally.
In a cult fashion, you know, they made signs on the walls,
Signs on the
because
wall after
sacrament
killing
and all
them. They
ritual.
stabbed them to death, and she was she was an actress, pregnant actress, surrounded, and director was not there.
Yeah,
They thought that
luckily.
they can kill the director also. So that it is called as the Manson family.
Manson models.
Manson. So that was a cult. So
No.
they cult.
The only time, trivia, the only time that the American justice system gave a life sentence to somebody
Yes.
for not killing anybody, Charles Manson got his followers to do it. He knew
Yeah.
he wasn't there.
Charles
to see.
Manson was the man who made a cult and they
Yes.
used to kill people.
He had a cult of around 100 people. They used to live on a farm, and
Yeah.
he was not on the scene. But this was the only time that he got a life sentence,
Yes.
despite not shooting or killing anybody.
Yes, so some hint of that film you can also see in Once Upon in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino, where you have Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. So that is home invasion.
Yeah, the
So
biggest
that is
examples.
Yeah,
Biggest examples are Your Next,
Your Next,
Your Next, Strangers,
Strangers, home invasion.
Strangers Pray at Night, it's
Yeah,
the sequel.
Pray at Night.
Then there is another one, Vacancy. Owen Wilson was.
Vacancy.
Yes.
My goodness, that is a very, very scary
And
film.
there
I
is
still remember.
not many know this, but there is a film called Intruder.
Yeah, I know.
It is a brilliant circumvention of home invasion.
Yes, yes.
Where the killers, they go inside. Not killers, they are thieves, but they ready to kill, to thief, to rob. What they do not know is that the person's home they have entered is a full-blown psychopath.
Yeah.
And she turns the tables on them.
Yes.
Again, a woman, female
Yeah,
oriented.
yeah. And then we have some sense or some inclination or some connect to this also. Don't breathe.
Don't breathe. Yes.
Don't breathe is
That's also
again
home invasion.
home invasion.
Yeah, but he
He's
turns
a
the
blind
tables.
man,
Yeah.
and they invade his home, and then yeah. So that is seventh, and what is eighth?
As 8, I would say, is psychological.
Psychological horror. So psychological horror, when we say, that was The Sixth Sense, one of the finest films, and of course, film by Stanley Kubrick. Beside this, there are some films which I right now will be saying films by Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, but actually the first psychological horror film was by again Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
A British film called Repulsion.
Oh yes.
Repulsion, where she
Roman
is,
Polanski.
she again female oriented. Okay, she's the only person in the. It's a one-person film. This woman, it starts off with a few characters, but then throughout the film, she's the only person in the house, and that film is a brilliant example of camera work. She thinks the house, she thinks the walls are coming in, she thinks there are people in the wall, she thinks the cupboards are alive, and you see the genius of Roman Polanski through camera work, how he scares the shit out of you. It's so scary. It is a brilliant psychological.
Yeah. So then what is your ninth genre?
Creature feature.
Creature feature. So when we say creature feature, we have so many creatures like I think Alien.
Yeah. So again, now many people will say, why werewolf is not creature feature?
Creature, that is different.
No. So horror, you know, the horror communities, horror fans, horror filmmakers, they are very strict with their rules. Werewolf is werewolf. इसमें werewolf लिखना है. Creature feature में अलग अलग creatures होंगे जो इनका rules उसी फिल्म में बनाया जाएगा. werewolf के rules पहले से बनाए. उनको silver से problem है, उनको silver bullet ही मार सकता है, all these things. But garlic से problem है. Like creature feature का अलग. Aliens is a great one.
Alien was, if you know, guys should remember that Alien was directed by James Cameron.
Yes.
The same director who later on went to make
Sir, Alien 2.
Titanic. Alien 2 was
Alien
there.
1 again great filmmaker. Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott.
जो Gladiator
Yeah,
बना.
yeah, Gladiator. Alien 1 and Alien 2 both featured Sigourney Weaver. First was done by Ridley Scott, second was done by James Cameron. After Alien, I think he has done a film called True Lies.
After Alien, no. Then he got bigger budget and he decided to do Terminator.
Terminator, then he did. And then he made 2 Terminators and then 2 Lies. And after 2 Lies, he made Titanic. And then after Titanic, there is no second.
He is always setting by box
No,
office.
then Avatar.
You know, nobody was going to buy Alien. They were going to almost flush the project down the toilet.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to buy it. It was again made on a very small budget.
Very small budget.
In fact, budget cuts देखने के बाद फिर वो लोग टेस्ट स्क्रीनिंग करते थे उस टाइम पे हॉलीवुड में और जो भी बाकी स्टूडियो एग्जीक्यूटिव्स थे उन्होंने बोला था और बजट काटो ये पिक्चर चलनी नहीं वाली.
Great work. And how? So this
Tremors.
was that was the
Tremors.
Tremors.
Great
Tremors is
creature
again
feature.
creature film. A big creature film. This was 9th. What is 10th?
This was
8th. Yeah.
9. Now
Nine.
again I'm going to get a little more confusing. 10th is called animal horror.
Animal horror.
Not creature feature. Because
Okay.
creature feature में जो creature है वो
Animal है ना?
वो दुनिया में वैसा animal है
नहीं. वो creature है जैसे aliens.
Alien, Tremors,
Tremors उसमें भी है.
वो
वो भी उसमें Gremlins.
Gremlins, Critters.
हाँ, ये सारे वो है जो दिखाई नहीं देते इसलिए they are creature features.
Yes.
But when we are talking about animal horror, Jaws.
It's more scarier because ये animals दुनिया में है.
Jaws.
Jaws is the greatest animal horror film.
Jaws
One of the
was
greatest
written
horror films ever.
by Steven Spielberg. So when somebody asked him, how do you make a film called Jaws? So he said, I always thought that I should scare my younger sister. So how should I scare her? I should make something which is very big, huge. And I made Jaws. That was his answer.
People got ocean phobia. They were not going to the beach after Jaws.
Yeah, people
Even
have
after the
stopped
beach.
going to the beaches because it was such a scary film. And at that time, when we were in college, only some of the films were talked about. We were talking about Nightmare on the Elm Street. We were talking about The Evil's Death. We were talking about Exorcist. We were talking about this film Jaws. And everybody who were seniors to us, we were very kids like. So seniors to us used to come to us and give us an impression that they had done something extraordinary. They have seen Jaws. And you are too young, too smart to see.
बच्चे होते हैं.
बच्चे होते हैं. We have seen Jaws, we have seen Dracula. And we used to see Dracula, how is Dracula? And they used to say, tack, 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 tack. So they used to scare us. But yes, then we
But
then 11.
some amazing things. I'll tell you another thing about Jaws did, which horror is very common for. They reboost fading actors or unknown actors' career. Roy Scheider.
Yeah.
उसके पहले he did some good movies. French Connection में था.
Yes.
लेकिन कोई उसको नहीं जानता था. So they take this same thing happened in Don't Breathe, Stephen Lang के साथ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stephen Lang, that actor.
Yes.
He is an amazing actor. Now he is doing so much.
But they get a reboost.
Yeah, they get a
because
reboost.
of the horror genre. Another Lake Placid is a great example.
Lake Placid.
Also, if you want to see how this animal horror can make the cutest of animals, we all love dogs.
Yeah.
We all love dogs, right?
Yeah.
Watch the movie Breed,
Yeah.
which has Michelle Rodriguez, and there's another movie called The Pack, an Australian horror film. After that, you will think twice about petting a dog.
So wonderful. So this was your 10th. What was about 11th genre?
11th is my least favorite horror subgenre. I don't like it much, except for a few films. It's called body horror.
Body or like this new film which is called Bodies.
No,
Okay.
that's a horror comedy actually.
That is horror comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Body horror is where changes start happening to the body. The two of the best examples of body horror are two of the examples actually, three of the best examples. I like those movies, rest I never liked. One is The Thing.
Yeah.
The Thing.
The Thing.
Made again by John Carpenter,
Yeah.
Russel. Big flop, huge flop. Okay, today regarded as one of the greatest cult horror
Cult
film.
film.
Okay,
It has become a cult film.
the reason it flopped also they said because at that time E.T. had come
Yeah.
and that E.T. wave continued, so nobody is going to watch any.
And
other
it
movie.
was done by Steven
Steven
Spielberg.
Spielberg.
And it has a background score by Michael Jackson. And the whole world fell in love with that film. Yeah.
So it is one of the best examples which our Bollywood filmmakers need to understand is that वो लोग CGI इतना use करते हैं ना, horror में तब scariness ज़्यादा आता है और budget भी कम होती है when you use practical effects. मतलब कि in the thing they used effects like with cheese, with rotten food, limited monsters. So अगर आप thing देखोगे उनके बॉडी में से वो पैरासाइट घुस जाती है और वो बॉडी में से फिर वो सारा का सारा चेंजेस आ जाते हैं. They remain, the human remains, but they have tentacles and all coming out. There's another movie called Hellraiser,
Yeah.
and there's another movie called The Fly, which is made by another master of horror called David Cronenberg.
Yes, yes. David
So
Cronenberg.
these
He's a
three are-
wonderful director.
These three are very good body horror, but body horror, is also regarded as the most sickening horror genre. उसमें कुछ भी हो सकता है. Like there is a movie recently, I think last year came called Titan. उसमें body horror is, the horror comes with the girl's excrement also. Then there is a movie called The Human Centipede, where the mouth of the one person gets stuck to the rectum of another person, the mouth of that person gets stuck to the rectum, and they form the human centipede. So that's why I
That
don't
is
like
another
body
genre.
horror. That's why I don't like body
Fair
horror.
enough that you don't like that genre.
Yes.
And what is the 12th genre?
The 12th genre is hardly ever hardly ever talked about. It's called casual horror.
Okay.
Yes, it's like it's a horror, where you have amalgamation of different genres.
Like Final Destination?
Or you could, Final Destination could be one of those films. Okay. Even some people say Alien are going to, because you see, if Alien are, many people are divided on it. Some people say it's a science fiction movie.
Yeah, it's
Some
science
people
fiction.
say it's a horror film.
Yeah.
Some people think so the first Terminator is a slasher film.
Oh.
Yes, because he's talking Linda Hamilton, which is very few. Predator. Predator for me is a horror film more than a science fiction film because it is a slasher.
Yeah.
A bunch of men, the difference is instead of teenagers, a bunch of very burly soldiers, they grow, they go in the woods, they go in the jungle, and they're being stalked by a killer, one by one.
My goodness.
Yes.
So it's such an amazing amalgam of all these genres. So now I will for all the audiences, if you are talking about genres in Hollywood, after that of course we are coming to Bollywood, but before that if you are talking about 12 genres of Bollywood, we are saying first Russel,
Paranormal,
second vampire, third
werewolf,
werewolf, fourth
zombie,
zombie, fifth
horror comedy,
sixth
slasher,
seventh
home invasion,
eighth
psychological
horror, ninth
creature
feature, 10th animal, 11th body, and 12th casual horror. Amazing, thank you very much, so sweet. I think I have never come across somebody so much into it, so much of into horror genre, because I have
You've seen my horror tattoos today. I can't show
he
them.
is the man with the horror tattoos.
I can show one over
Yeah,
here.
he can show
This
you.
is the-
So this is for all the
Yeah.
all the people there
Nightmare
around
on
who are
Elm-
watching.
Nightmare on Elm
Just
Street.
see this Nightmare on Elm Street on his chest. So
Freddy's
you
blood.
can see how much somebody can love horror films, and I know there are so many horror aficionados. There are so many filmmakers and film stars, and even my film goers who love horror films. My wife loves horror films, and she watches most of her films like this. So the screen is like this, and she will watch.
The
like
film
this.
is doing its job.
Yeah, so I always say if you want to watch film, but yeah, she's scared also, but she wants to watch it. So I have seen so many films, and I happen to do the premieres also of some of the best horror films. I did the premiere of Final Destination 5. I did the premiere of Oculus. So I did so many premieres of horror films, and I love horror films. But yes, when we talk about Hollywood, they are there. They are doing wonderful work. They keep on doing horror films. There are some horror
One thing I have to add to slashers. Italian filmmakers redefined slashers like
Yeah.
they redefined westerns. They were called giallo horror.
Yes.
Yes. But it was mostly the slasher template. Mario Bava,
Yeah.
Dario Argento,
Right.
and Lucio Fulci.
My goodness. Now I can't remember these Italian names, and this is gentleman here with us who understands Italian horror as well. And we all know that it's not only Hollywood, but this Hollywood is often inspired by Japanese horror. They are inspired by South Korean horror, and yes, Thailand. Thailand
Shutter.
horror, yes.
Shutter.
Yeah, Shutter. So these are also horror which are prevalent, which are very much loved. Now coming back to our films, when we talk about our own films, We love Bollywood films, but we have done so much of suspense films. We have suspense films from suspense films of Raj Khosla,
Oh, Mokanthi.
Wankhede.
Oh.
Not that was
Ram
not
Gopal.
I'm talking about Raj Khosla, Wankhede, and then Mera Saya.
Mera Saya.
So these are the suspense films which were wonderful.
You know,
Then-
Sadhna could become a screen queen if somebody, just tapped into that.
Which film?
Sadhna could become our first screen queen.
Who?
Sadhna,
She has-
Mera
yes,
Saya,
yes.
I think Aina also.
Exactly. She has done so many films, and then there were films like Kohara, there were films like 20 Saal Baad, there were a lot of suspense films, and there were some horror films as well. There was a film called Chehre Pe Chehra by Sanjeev Kumar.
Mm.
There was a film called Darwaza. So when we were young, they used to say that if you can watch all four shows of Darwaza sitting alone in the cinema, then you will get a big prize. So we used to imagine how can one person watch four shows in one theater, and then that was what we used to understand or think about the height of scariness. So that was the film, then Do Gaz Zameen Ke Niche. So Ramsey Brothers has done lot of horror films, and the best part about Ramsey's films was, it was of course attempted, but there was a lot of entertainment questioned. His films has a lot of entertainment value and a great music, and he always has a comedian also. So you have a horror film where there is a comedian, there is a great music, and then there are typical actors who has been working in all his films, from Hemant Birje to
Huma Khan,
Huma Khan to
Jagdeep, Raza Murad.
Raza Murad to everybody. So they were tight, but we appreciated it, we loved it. In fact, when the Doordarshan or the television came in vogue in India, the highest rating web series, not web series, the series, serial, what we used to say, at that time was Anhoni. And it was by Ramsey Brothers. So Ramsey has got,
उसके बाद एक और आया था.
yeah, so Ramsey has got a great understanding of this genre, and they did prevalently great work. They were great filmmakers, and then we have basically, if we talk about horror in India, we always have something to lie on, and that is our folk stories. So we had horror where we have folk stories around it. We have horror where we have monsters around it. But our horror has been average. We have.
You know the main reason for that?
Yeah.
Industry is, I'm sorry to say, I can't take names obviously. The industry people don't understand. I'm not that they have not made good movies. When they have made, I mean, Ram Gopal Varma has made horror movies that could stand.
Ram Gopal Varma has
best
made
in the
Raat.
world.
That was a great horror. What a film! It was Revati. Revati is one of the finest films. Raat, and then he has made Khan.
Bhoot.
He has made Bhoot. Bhoot is the same building where I stay.
Okay, you don't want me to come there?
So you get. So what happened? I was get that position, and I was watching that film in Chandan, Juhu. And my wife said, "This is the same building." I said, "Oh my God, it's the same building." So Ajay Devgan has a duplex. So that duplex is in the Kia Park.
Vikram Bhatt was also good.
Yeah, so Vikram Bhatt has done great films. like
Raz
was amazing.
You see What Lies Beneath. It is inspired.
What lies beneath is
Much better. Raz is much better.
And even
Much better.
our Eiktha villain, it was also a rehash of a South Korean horror film. So we made a lot of horror films, but they were actually the inspiration from a lot of Hollywood films. We have made Psycho many times. We have made that film Dial M for Murder called Aitbar.
पहले तो इन्होंने बनाया था एतबार उसके बाद
Hamraz.
Mastan.
So that was made. That was inspiration from this film, Alfred Hitchcock's film Dial M for Murder, and then so we have made our horror and suspense films mostly based on international films, which were inspiration for us. So if we are talking about suspense films,
Ram Gopal Varma has been pretty original initially.
he was
Initially.
original.
Yeah.
Raat was original.
Raat was Khan was Olympic.
Corn was original. So if we talk about, there was a Marathi film called Patla. Patla means chase. So Mera Saya was based on that film.
Oh,
But
this I did not know.
Yeah, so Mera Saya has all the great songs and it was a huge
Speaking
hit.
of Marathi horror, Lapa Chappi.
Lapa Chappi,
नुसरत
ये-
भरूचा की फिल्म
Yeah.
ने remake officially
Yes.
release की थी. नुसरत की फिल्म में
Yes,
Lapa
yes, yes.
Chappi was a fabulous.
Lapa Chappi was a Marathi film which was a horror film. And then there was a Marathi play which I remember. It was a horror play when we used to see in young days. But I watched it in my college days. In our college, Kuditari Ahe Titha. So that was a horror play. So we had a history of basically films. We have a history of films. We have a history of Hollywood. We have a history of Bollywood films. We have a history of regional films. What he said about Chandramukhi and all. So I guess if we talk about the genre which we love, of course we love most of the genres, but horror is something which is pretty close to you. So I think give one message to all your viewers today, what you love, especially about horror.
See, like I initially said, that's what it relaxes me. It makes me, I chill. I chill with horror, but most importantly is that I think it is to do with, I find comedy in life a lot. बात लोगों साथ बैठ के हंसना easy है. I have been a kickboxer, as you know, so
Yes.
life में action भी होता है, gymming, crossfit regularly होती है. लेकिन लाइफ में ऐसा कुछ है नहीं जो you know मुझे easily डरा दे. So वो मुझे horror फिल्म में होता है.
Wow.
That's what I like about horror.
So I
But
think
I have one more message about this. See, the reason is, first of all, you know, our viewers. And before the viewers, it needs to start with the industry. Before the industry, it needs to start with our media. They need to understand horror. The industry, the problem is, recently I took an interview of a pretty nice film that came on an OTT platform. And for me, that was a horror film because it was a typical home invasion meets slasher.
Okay.
But the actress, the lead female actor of the film, when I said, this is a start of horror film, and she says, this is horror kid. So I was like, नहीं, horror, and I've tried to explain, you know, intruder, vacancy, strangers, उन्होंने कभी सुना ही नहीं ये फिल्म में क्या थी. And she said, horror मतलब भूत होना चाहिए ना. मेरा पूरा इंटरव्यू उसके बाद मुझे ही पता है मैं अपना इंटरव्यू कैसे कंप्लीट किया उसके बाद. Now I had this talk again with another few critics when भेड़िया के बारे में बात कर रहे थे. उन्होंने बोला भेड़िया को हिट होना चाहिए था. मैंने बोला भेड़िया ने 65, 66 कुछ कमाया.
Yes.
भेड़िया ने जितना कमाया, जितनी पोटेंशियल थी 65, 66 पे हिट होनी चाहिए थी. हिट इसलिए नहीं हुई क्योंकि that went over budget.
Yes.
You cannot have a horror film that is costing around what 35, 40, 45 crores. It's not possible. तो उन्होंने बोला तो फिर हम उसमें effects कैसे लाएंगे? मैंने बोला भाई भेड़िया आई थी 2022 में. 1981 में फिल्म आई थी The Howling.
Yeah.
Which is a landmark werewolf film. Watch that film's effects. Film बनी थी $150,000 में, which is a very small amount in Hollywood. The film made around 10 to 12 million dollars in
Yes,
box
I
office.
know that.
They did not use CGI at all. और जो वो werewolf का transformation है, they showed finger सर से लेके छोटे से नाखून तक उसका werewolf transformation कैसे हो रहा था. Only with camera work and practical effects. Practical effects में fur, you know, sketches, actual skin, hide, वो सब उन्होंने use किया. Now that they are filmmaker, they've got brilliant ideas, but the day they understand कि horror needs to be small budget, you need to get practical effects, and you need to stop roping in big stars because वो big stars देंगे big money, या तो उनको producer बना. तब तक ये अलग टाइप की हॉरर फिल्में नहीं चलेगी. स्त्री अगेन हम बोलते हैं इतनी बड़ी फिल्म, इतना बड़ा हिट, लेकिन वो फिल्म बनी भी तो इतनी कम बजट में ना, वरना कहाँ पे बनती थी इतनी बड़ी. इंडस्ट्री नीड्स टू अंडरस्टैंड कि हॉरर इज नॉट भूत. Stop thinking this. After that, the viewers will understand that horror is not only bhoot, and make your budgets less.
Wonderful, wonderful. So this was amazing that we have seen that somebody who is the part of PTI, Press Trust of India, who is part of journalism, who has been the part of film fraternity, and who has so much, who is so much into horror genre, who understands the genre, and you can see the knowledge, and you can see the style, and you can see his affection for this genre. So this whole idea of me coming to you was to talk about something which excites us, which can shock us, which can entertain us, and of course, no better than cinema. And today we are really privileged, happy, and delighted to have Russel.
Privilege and honor.
And Russel has been a great friend, and we had been doing this for years now. But this was what I wanted to come to audience with lot of sense of horror films. And yes, because of OTT, there is a great spread of horror films all across. So enjoy the genre, and we are going to meet you again in coming week with new issue, with new topic, and the new guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You are amazing, man. This guy is amazing. Seriously, have his picture. You कैसे क्या इतने नाम मेरे को उठते डायरेक्ट के नाम मेरे को तो याद है कारपेंटर